The Rail Coal Fire Bistro is committed to offering top quality menu selections for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, including an after hours menu. The Rail Coal Fire Bistro, located on Highway 138 in Ganawage.
So Gina, I want to say about a month ago now, we've had this issue come up of a community member, or some community members, looking to possibly develop a casino here, a land-based casino here in Kahnawake. Now, there was a lot of discussion at the community level of, well, why are we even entertaining this issue? But let's go back just quickly to, how did this come to the table and what was that initial reaction?
Well, originally we had a written request by Mr. Thompson and Carrie Lacroix to have a meeting on a hotel with a water park and possible gaming endeavor. So that's where it originally started. Mm-hmm. During the meeting, you know, we threw different ideas around, talked about different scenarios, and we had expected to hear back from them. And they had taken, you know, some of the ideas from the meeting and had just followed through on them. And then they came out with the petition. So we didn't know that all these things were happening from the initial meeting. We hadn't heard back. So we were a little surprised, and I guess that's where, you know, all the miscommunication came afterwards. So yeah, there was, you know, the discussions on the radio and things kind of went back and forth, but then we were able to sit down and talk with them and iron everything out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what was the initial feeling at the table, or with the Grand Chief and the rest of the council table, when you guys initially received that letter requesting a meeting on a land-based casino, possibly having a land-based casino here in Kahnawake with a water?
Well, it didn't even say like a land-based casino. It talked about a gaming endeavor. I forget the actual word, but you know, like I said, ideas get thrown around and everybody talked about different things, different scenarios, but nothing was kind of set in stone. So, I mean, the casino subject rears its head every so often, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not surprising to us. Right. And Joe Norton has made the statement himself that it's not a dead issue. You know, there's people in the community that come around all the time talking about it, looking for a replacement to the tobacco industry. It's on the decline, right? You know, I said publicly that I've been supportive of the idea, you know, if the community is willing. We are looking at what's happening in the gaming industry, though, and I keep telling everybody it's not the big ticket item anymore. It's not going to be the answer. I mean, 20 years ago, yes, you know, maybe even 10 years ago, but currently it's on the decline for land-based. Whether it be even bingo halls, golf, I mean, the youth just aren't into that. So they're all struggling out there. I go to economic development conferences, it's a subject. You go to all gaming conferences, it's definitely right up there as a subject about trying to draw them back to the land-based.
Mm-hmm. So just to clarify too, because you sit as the portfolio chief on gaming and economic development.
Right.
Okay. So you have an insight into the industries that you're championing, I guess, on behalf of council, but right. Also, and when I say champion, I mean that it's your responsibility to be able to identify different things for the community in these industries. So
correct.
When you look at the possibility of a private entrepreneur and associates, if you will, wanting to do something like this, what are some of those initial feelings that you get, because you're also a business person in this community? Do you feel like something like this could be viable, and how exactly would that work if it was privately held, and would the council be involved in that? I think some of those are the questions that people are asking.
I can't see it being privatized. Personally, I think if there's going to be a benefit, it has to be the community, the collective, for something that large. We do look at public and private partnerships now. I mean, that's kind of what council has been looking and entertaining for this term. That I can see, but a privatized casino, no, I don't believe that this table is prepared to see that.
What's the overall feeling at the council table? Do half of you guys support it, or do half of the chiefs say, well, we've already had, this many referendums on it, I think 3 at this point, and
Yes.
it's all been no's. Where do you go from there?
Well, we've talked about it. I mean, there's a variety of feelings around it. We haven't made a decision, one way or the other. We're looking at different endeavors also, not just a casino project. There's people that come here with land-based like VLT proposals or the gaming tablets. There's so many things that are happening out there that would constitute being land-based.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we really need to start looking at that and looking at the direction of the future in gaming.
So where is that project now? Have those individuals from the community come back for another meeting with council to discuss moving forward? Or?
No, there was one initial meeting to iron out, the misunderstanding, and that was done, but we haven't had any follow-up meetings since then.
Okay, so there was a petition that went around. Did
Right.
they reach their quota in terms of getting community support?
Well, I guess what
From
they
your
wanted,
understanding?
they wanted to identify that there is community support and interest. If you go back to the last referendum, I mean, the numbers were so close, incredibly close. It was, almost a tie, but council respected the decision at that time. But like I said, people have come to us, and I mean all chiefs, talking about gaming, talking about the land-based casino, because of the decline in the industry that we had here, which was tobacco.
Right.
And people have had a change of heart, they say, and we look at Aguasasne and the casino there, and people have a model that they can actually look at, because there was a lot of fear around what does a casino bring, and they're talked about, all the negatives that a casino will bring. But we have a great deal of Ganawaganono that frequent the Aguasasne casino, and they see, wow, this is working very well in this community, and they're benefiting. I mean, they had 60-something million last year injected into their community. So when people start to see something firsthand, then they get a little more comfortable, and that's where I think some of the change of heart has also come.
You're right. I do work in Akwesasne, and I, often have business meetings at the casino, and I run into, and I go there myself too, so I run into a lot of people from our community, and they're always like, hey.
Yes.
Even some people who are staunch supporters of the no side here in Ganawage, I've run into at the Mohawk Casino in Akwesasne, and I'm like, it's like one of these awkward moments where you're just like, hey, I'll just keep that, keep that in my pocket.
But,
But I get what you're saying. Cause, we had just done an interview with Jalessa Barrero, who's the executive director at the St. Regis Mohawk Tribe, and he talked about the casino and how there's all this additional programming in the community that deals with different social issues, youth issues, health, let's get healthy lifestyles. So you do see the benefits of that. On the flip side, you are saying that that industry is on the decline. Somehow, somewhere, it may not affect us here, but I mean, I guess geography would play a role also, like in terms of, our location being so close to the Montreal casino. Right. Have there been any studies released or done in terms of the capacity to have one here, and would that location or geography affect our business potentially?
Well, there's no current information that I'm aware of. The thing about Mr. Thompson's project is it's a hotel, a water park. You have all these additional attractions that will cause people to want to come. So, I mean, he's got a great plan there, but there's a lot of things that need to be worked out beforehand. Right.
Okay. Just to wrap it up, what are your thoughts on the issue of how would something like this be legal in Ganawage? Because we always circle back to having to deal with the province, having to deal with Canada, and asserting our jurisdiction and saying, well, you know what, we're putting a casino in Ganawage, possibly, and I'm talking based on assumption here. But what are your thoughts on that, like in terms of legalizing or getting that to be legal or even okay with our outside governments?
Well, I'll go back to, a statement I've made before. Each province in this country, other than Quebec, has an agreement with First Nations around gaming. Quebec doesn't. We now have had a conversation with Lotto Quebec. I can see us moving in another direction. So I'm hopeful that, in the future, we will come to some agreements around that, and they will catch up with the rest of the country.
Well, that's good to hear. I think maybe, people need to understand that other tidbit also when they think about sovereignty and Kanewage's jurisdiction. It is on everybody's mind. Like, well, how would we even do this, and what would that agreement look like? Would we lose anything in the long run? How would our collective rights be affected, if at all? Would we end up having to pay taxes? And that's a big one out there, right? If you're hitting the ground running, people are asking about the taxation issue. Is it coming? Is it at our front door? And would some of this filter down into the community in terms of taxation?
Well, taxation is front and center right now. We look at the gas retailers situation. We've met with them recently. We've had meetings with government, and taxation is on the forefront for everybody. We do need to iron that issue out. Quebec has stated to us that their citizens are not entitled to tax-free. And we can agree.
Yeah, we agree on that.
We agree on that. So there's a good starting point.
Do you think that the relationship with Quebec has gotten better over the years, or are we still bumping heads on certain issues?
It's on the verge of getting better. I think if we continue to have the dialogue that we're getting together with people that we haven't before, and Lotto Quebec is another example. The Minister of Finance coming to Ganawage is a second example. I mean, these are big things. So I think, yes, we're taking the right steps in the right direction.
Okay. And just quickly to wrap it up, any last thoughts on this issue? Anything that you've heard over the last month or so since the news broke that you would like to clarify out in the community?
No, there's just been a variety of conversations, and I take into account what everybody's saying. I understand the concerns, but there's also the other side that are pro casino now and looking to plug, that hole we have now from the tobacco industry, and even the decline in the golfing. I mean, we look at the work that's done on the bridge. Golf courses, are suffering from that, and then they just overall, again, not having the youth picking up that sport.